This is the CreaseCast.
Welcome, everybody. It's another episode of the CreaseCast. We're here to preview the Stanley Cup Finals. We're finally here. We got the best teams in the fucking industry in the finals. It's going to be fun. Thank God, because some of the teams that could have gone through could have been ugly, could have been some crappy hockey, but instead we're going to get legitimate best on best. The first time in, I guess, the Blues Boston series may have been considered best on best at the time.
Oh God, it's got to be like Chicago, Boston, like 2013, like something like that, where it's like two teams that are actually both at the top, like actually make it in.
Yeah, I guess that tracks. So it's great news. We're really happy. That seems you guys, you little kids, were just getting out of grade school. How cute was that?
I was 12.
No, you weren't. Get out of here.
2013.
2013. How old was I? I would have been a sophomore in high school. So like 16, 17.
I was 12.
Oh my God. God, you were younger than us.
I picked the wrong time to drink some water right there. Stunning. You're trying to kill me this early into the show. Okay, we wanted to quickly, we started recording real quick for you fine folks because we were talking about Tampa's cap situation. We were talking about their projected lineup for next year, and we were like, why are we doing this for free and talking to each other like normal people when we could be recording it and making money off of you people for hearing it? And so that's what we're doing, because I don't know if you guys saw this tweet the other day. It was someone saying that now that the finals are set, pretty much every single player making more than $9.5 million was eliminated from the playoffs, because technically Braden Point's extension kicks in next season, so he's not one of those people. So there's like, I don't know, like maybe 5 people in the finals right now making more than, like, that are in the top league earners or whatever. You can't see my air quotes anymore because we're all scrunched up, but I'm doing air quotes just so you know. And then I saw at the bottom of the list is Victor Hedman at $7.875 million. You know how much they've been talking about how fucking good Victor Hedman's been this playoffs and the last one and the one before that. Guy is unbelievable. And when I saw his cap hit, I nearly fell out of my chair. I just couldn't believe it. Like, because I remember when they said like Braden Point's been extended for $9.5 million. I was like, oh, that's a hefty price. Do they have the money? And then I was like, don't you have like Hedman and stuff? And it's like, nope. Hedman signed till he's 34, and it's like maybe $1.5 million more than Quinn Hughes is making right now. Like, that's fucking ridiculous. Like, what they're doing is absolutely ridiculous. And we were talking about this because we were like, okay, the guy that's really probably earned himself a paycheck with this playoff series run is Nicholas Paul. And we were like, okay, how are they going to make money to get him re-signed to another contract, because he's still only 27, fits that mold. I mean, he's fit in like an absolute glove with Tampa. Brandon Hagel has not. If I were them, I would be looking to try and flip him after this year as fast as possible, try and recoup a pick. Because, like, what didn't they give up? Like a first, a second, and a third or something for him?
They gave up
something
2
crazy
prospects. And like,
oh yeah, that's right. Taylor Radish, Boris Kachuk, and like 2 seconds or something like crazy like that. And then that was their first trade deadline move, and it set the blueprint for what everyone thought Tyler Mott was going to go for. And whoa, were they so upset when it was just a 4th round pick or whatever it was?
I mean, they would have been better off paying that price for Tyler Mott, as we saw him in the playoffs. Like, he was
really, because
he
they
was
won
really
the series.
good.
Well, they won the series. That's true.
But
you can't ride on just Tyler Mott.
If you were gonna flip the script and you were like, okay, instead of Brandon Hagel, and you get Tyler Mott at like super cheap, you're probably like cruising to the finals even better than they already did, probably. And man, like, they're gross. Like, they don't really have to re-sign anyone either, except for Andre Palat, but he's probably gone. He's 31 years old.
You think he's gone? Like, you don't think that he's one of those guys that they try and trade other people to stay?
I think he might want too much, or he might be in a position where they're like, look, Palat, it's either you or Nicholas Paul. We can keep you both if you both sign like dirt cheap sub $2 million contracts, and we move Alex Killorn somehow, or like that's it really. Anthony Cirelli, but you're not moving him because he's been one of the best shutdown defensive forwards in the playoffs for any of the teams. So
and
you're
he's
not moving
24.
him. And he's 24.
He's a child compared to a lot of
you know
these
what's
people.
okay, so I'm looking at the cap friendly right now, and you know what stuns me is, like, first of all, I didn't even realize Andre Palat was that old, because it feels like he's only been in the league for the last like 5 years, because he was kind of a late
been
bloomer,
so solid the entire time that you kind of forget that he's been in it for like years.
Yeah, exactly. And what also makes this wild to me is that apparently he's the same age as Zach Bogosian, who's like, to me, in my mind, is like 35, 36.
He's like,
wow.
He was drafted by Atlanta. Man. He was drafted by Atlanta. Like, that's like, how is that possible?
The thing is, Bogosian looks like he's been through some shit.
He's seen he's been through some wars. He was on
he was on the Leafs last year, okay? The man needs help.
He was on Winnipeg he was like, this is the crazy thing. He started in Atlanta, right? Yeah. He's been through the ringer. He went through the Jets when their locker room was terrible with Evander Kane. Then he moved with him to Buffalo and experienced the Buffalo experience when they were just like the worst, like the dumpster fire before the dumpster fire. And then he goes to Tampa, wins the cup, and then he moves to Tampa. Not that successful, kind of not used in the same kind of role. And then he comes back to Tampa and he's looking to get his second cup. And so good for him, for a guy who's just kind of been through the ringer a bit. On the age note, the thing that I find fucking insane is that Mikhail Sergachev is only 23.
Yeah.
That seems like, so speaking of Zach Bogosian feeling like he's been in the league forever, Andre Palat, being in the league forever, Mikhail Sergachev basically jumped in the NHL like right after his draft year, I'm pretty sure. So he feels like he's been here forever, but he's still like a child.
And he was really, and he got so much like media coverage because he was traded for Jonathan Drouin, right? Because he started as a Canadian. And how badly that trade backfired. Not because Drouin's been bad or anything, but simply because the Canadians were like, well, he hasn't been great, but like obviously we learned like earlier at the beginning of during last season and a bit of this year that like there were outside forces kind of like making that more difficult for him. But like, in general, it was mostly just because the Canadians fancied themselves a lot better than they actually were. So they traded this young developing player who ended up being like a huge part of Tampa and just like having this great defenseman ready to go.
That brilliant GM Marc Bergevin thought the smart decision here was to get a French Canadian center, because regardless of his on ice impact, he's French Canadian, and that's what matters the most. Not really great roster planning by Marc Bergevin, but that's why he got fired.
That's why he's not
months after going to a cup final. So that's pretty fucking funny.
Yeah.
But what did we all think? What was our big takeaway from the Lightning Rangers series? For those that don't know, Lightning lose the first 2 games and then sweep the Rangers 4 straight to win in 6. I was not convinced it was going 7 games. I thought Tampa was going to lose the first 2 because they had that long layoff. Sure enough, they dropped 2. Not that I cared, because I won a lot of money off of it. So that was fine with me. And then, just kind of made it like methodical, like bit of a couple lucky bounces here. But Steven Stamkos comes up big, which is, good for him. Nice to see Steven Stamkos contributing to the Lightning Cup runs, because I know when that first run happened in the bubble and he played 1 game, scored a goal, everyone was like, oh, he's not a good captain and got lucky with his cup. And I was like, I don't want that to happen to Steven Stamkos. Like, this guy hit like 60 goals a couple of years ago. Like, give him a break, man. And it's nice to see him like actually being like the contributor for the Lightning right now. Like, that rules. So anyway, what are your guys' thoughts?
You know what's wild about Stamkos in itself is that you almost sometimes forget he's there just because of how good Tampa is and like how stacked that lineup is. Where literally he'll score a goal and you'll be like, oh yeah, that's right. They have Steven Stamkos just there. He's not even like their highest paid player. Like we were talking about how well they've managed their
speaking of cap things, he's only making $8.5 million.
$8.5 million for Steven Stamkos. forget even all the injury stuff. That's still an absolute steal for what he brings to your team, right? And like looking at the way the Lightning just took over that series once they got it going, it's one of those things where I even said at the beginning, like I remember people did the same thing at the beginning of game 1 against the Rangers that they did after game 1 against Toronto, where they're like, oh, this is going to be an easy one. The Rangers are going to walk to the final. And I'm just sitting there like, no, there's no way. That is the 100% not what's about to happen. If you're not careful, they're 100% going to come back and just run the table on you if you're not careful. And sure enough, that's what they did. Like they're straight up, they're like cockroaches where you can't kill them. Like you can step on them and crush them if you want to, but they're still just going to get up and walk away because they won't die. They won't go down. They're just that well built. And at the end of the day, like you're seeing the difference between a team that has a well built, like fully top to bottom, fully constructed roster with incredible goaltending in Andrei Vasilevsky versus a team that has the incredible goaltending part in Igor Shesterkin. And then after that, it's kind of like 3 or 4 scorers and it's a team still clearly like a few pieces away from being a regular contender. And at the end of the day, like that's why the Lightning won here and the Rangers didn't.
Yeah. Kind of like the outrage in the New York fan base too, where, like Capo Caco got scratched and everyone lost their mind.
I was incensed.
How dare they? Scratch this kid who hasn't
Scrapo
really
Caco? How dare they?
I love Capo Caco.
And then you have Gallant in the media after. He's like, he's a good player for us. I'd be shocked if he's not in our top 6 next year. It's like,
okay,
no pressure on the kid. Like,
sure.
hey,
why did you
don't
scratch
believe in
him? What? So I'm sorry. By scratching him, he's magically going to turn into a top 6 player next year. Like that's how players work. If you don't play them, they get better. That's how that works.
They thought Dryden Hunt was going to be the solution for them, which was a bit of a miss. Bit of a wrong call there because that guy didn't do anything for their
like even like Ryan Strome, he looked like he was in pain the entire game.
Yeah, it was the same. It was like the Draisaitl thing where every shift you're just like is this really helping them at all?
I mean, Draisaitl had like what 4 assists.
He's a freak. Like that doesn't count. Ryan Strome is not Leon Draisaitl.
Don't compare it.
It's like you can't do that to the guy. Like come on. Break. Like especially when it's like it's Tampa, right? It's like when it came to the Oilers too. When Draisaitl was playing, it was like, look, you're down 3-0 to the Avs. What do you actually gain by risking like permanent ligament damage to like your literal MVP player or one of your 2 leading MVP players? Like, what do you get out of subjecting him to that risk when you're going to lose? You're not going to win 4 straight against the Avs, no matter what goaltender they have in net. Like, it doesn't matter. Same thing with the Strome thing. It was like, it's a tight series. Would have eked a game, but like, what do you get out of that at all? Just put Caco in his place and call it a day. Give the guy a break.
Yeah, win or lose with your younger guys, especially the ones that you believe are going to be there for the long term, right? With Draisaitl, like that's the other thing with that one is like let's say they win game 4 by some magic of having him still playing in that game. You know what his reward for that is? Another game and then another game and then another game. And then let's say they magically come back from 3-0 down. It's, what's that? We have to play a Tampa Bay Lightning team that is notoriously heavy and going to crush you into the boards with a fine paste. Like that's it's not a reward at that case. It's just punishment. And I'll say with the Rangers, like the second I knew that the Lightning were going to win the series was when there was that wide open pass to the front of the net where Strome is waiting right there on the lip of the crease, wide open net, easiest goal in the world, and he missed it. And as soon as I saw that, like it was like 4 minutes left, I'm like, oh, Lightning are gonna win. And not only are they gonna win, they're gonna win in regulation. And sure enough, like it was Palat who scores with like a minute and a half to go, and you're like, well, that's the series. Goodbye.
Yeah. Well, there's your chance. Sorry, guys.
You missed like full on. Have they scored that goal? Who knows? Maybe they win in game 6. Maybe they win in game 7. Who knows? But as soon as he whiffed on it, and it's not to really his fault that they lost. lost at the end of the day. But it's like, as soon as you see that leg whiff, that's one of those, oh yeah, this is not going to be your, this is not your day.
Not
and this is not your
really
series.
on their side here.
Yeah, no. Yeah, luck's not going your way. And now we're gonna finally, like you mentioned, we're gonna get like a Colorado Tampa Bay final. And one of the things you talked about before with like Stamkos is like how great it is that he's getting to contribute and everything. Is like, how great it is that the Lightning have been as good as they have been coming out of that bubble cup. Like, for the amount of people that, let's say, any other team had won, how many people would be like, oh, it would be putting an asterisk on that bubble, on that Stanley Cup win? They can't do that with the Lightning. You can't.
They're still trying to this time now, right? Because I think what's going to happen is, if they lose to the Avs, I think a lot of people are going to be like revisionist and be like, oh, well, yeah, they weren't going to win 3 because the last 2 were kind of fluky and lucky anyway, right? Like, they're like, you see it in tweets too with like mainstream media where they're like, a lot of people are wondering if the second cup, like the first cup, if it really was a true test. And it's like every team was in the bubble. It wasn't just Tampa because they won. Like, they all went through that shit.
They still had to win all the games. Yeah. And like like we said before, like they almost had a harder road to that second cup because of how much hockey they'd played in such a recent span right before. Like, their last game of that season was what? September, late October? Early October? And
like their final like playoff game was like early September. Then the draft happens and the season kicks up like in January.
Yeah. And then they do it, and then they play 56 more games, then play a whole other playoff round, which ends in, I think, August, or like close in like July, which it normally doesn't. And then they start a whole 82 game season that October,
like on time.
And then go all the way to the finals again. So it's like, okay, at some point you've just got to consider that, like, and I know what you're talking about, like the people being like, oh, Tampa, this is their chance to really cement themselves as a hockey dynasty. I'm like, are you kidding? They've already done that. They don't need to.
They're still
already
so good.
That. Making the finals 3 years in a row. Like, when was the last time a team did that? I think it's been at least, I want to say,
80s
like
early.
That's probably early 80s. Yeah, the 80s. Like, that's not an easy thing to do by any stretch of the imagination. Like, good Lord.
Are they not tired?
I'm
tired watching them play.
I'm getting like really tired of watching the Lightning.
Yeah. They play hockey that is exhausting to watch, and also just seeing the same team over and over again, as cool as it is in a way, it's also just exhausting to see the same team win. Be like, how have you not figured them out by now?
If you're not a Bolts fan, like, I'm sure Bolts fans are just like absolutely,
for sure,
elated. They're
after so many years of struggles, right?
Yeah.
After
a hard life of living, of having to live in Florida, and like,
didn't they win a Stanley Cup before
in 04? Yep, they sure did in 04. That hard life. Woe is me.
Difficult, just like.
We've had Vincent LeCavalier, Marty St. Louis. Like, we've had this long, rich history of ridiculously good players. We had Stamkos and LeCavalier on the same team at one point. Like, you poor hard done by souls. Like, must suck.
But the playoff luck was never on their side until recently. So
that's true.
You gotta throw them a bone here.
Not when you see them 3 years in a row. I mean, so close together.
They're not Vegas who lucked into a cup final team.
I don't want to talk about
right out of the gate.
They didn't luck into it. Okay.
Yeah, you're right. They didn't luck into it.
They worked really hard and went through a shit ton of goalies.
I will take, like, so I was one of those hockey fans that used to be like, I'm tired of seeing like the Chicago Blackhawks and the Kings just like exchanging times in the finals. Like, I was one of those fans. It's like, I don't care about the dynasty. I just don't like them as teams. Tampa is completely different because they actually play really fun hockey and are so well-rounded. Where, like, could you imagine if instead of Tampa it was like, oh, it's the New York Islanders going to their third straight finals on the backs of Barry Trotz hockey? You would just be like, No,
And
I'm done with hockey.
The Islanders win 1-0 in quadruple overtime with
my
20
God.
shots
A
on
thriller.
goal. They've somehow
What a
averaged like
thriller.
5
It was so
shots
tight.
up a period. It's just the
Andre
worst.
Vasilevsky or what's his name?
Ilya Sorokin.
Sorokin. Yeah.
Who's a great young goalie.
0 goals against on 16 shots. It's like,
yeah.
Oh,
I did see recently. We didn't talk. I forget how much we actually talked about the Barry Trotz firing when that happened. Apparently, a lot of that was, or there was at least a rumor that was due to a divide between him and Matt Barzal, and because the Islanders didn't want him to walk out the door like John Tavares did, they fired the coach, which is
my God.
fascinating.
I
mean,
I think it's because the style of play is completely different.
Yeah,
Barry Trotz is very defensive, right? He doesn't like a lot of pizzazz. Matt Barzal is pizzazz. If you watch
exciting hockey, get out of here. This is not. We don't have time for this. What is this, entertainment?
Which is so bizarre too, because Lou Lamoriello, is you think he'd side with the coach because he is also not a pizzazz guy.
Yeah.
Unless the ownership group is we're done with Lou as well. We need to move on with a rebuild. But it seems weird. Lamb would be oh, well, I got to keep Barzal so he can keep playing a style of hockey that I hate.
I wonder, that is an interesting question. I wonder about about the star power aspect for the Islanders, because let's not kid ourselves. The two Islanders teams that went to the conference finals were not it wasn't Matt Barzal and his merry men. It was this blue collar, hardworking group of Anders Lee and Brock Nelson, all these guys who on any other team are just a good player, a decent player, maybe but more a middle six guy coming together to play great hockey as a unit kind of thing.
You know what they have? They have a bunch of Tanner Pearsons on their team that are
That's
very
a great comparable.
Overpaid. Bunch of very good guys that when they come together and play well, they produce quite well. If you had a top six that was nothing but Tanner Pearsons, you're probably going to have two or three 20 goal scorers, just because of how efficient and smart he is as a player. Yeah, and that's what they have. But unfortunately, they've signed for all that Canucks fans complain about Tanner Pearson's $3.5 million contract. At least it's not making 5 or 6, as in the Islanders' case, because they have so. Speaking of cap issues, this is the opposite of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Their entire top 9 of forwards are all making $4 million or more, and they all have some sort of trade protection for the guys that are over 28 years old. It is not a pretty cap picture for at least the immediate year. They can't do anything but basically sign guys to ELCs and hope that they, I don't know, just call the year a wash.
Yeah.
If I'm the Canucks though, I'm looking at the Islanders and I'm we'll trade you JT Miller for your first round pick next year, and you hope that they do the Ottawa Senators things with Colorado and they just completely choke, and it's a top 10 pick. That's a team I'm betting on for sure to just completely fall off.
Or do you trade JT Miller for Matt Barzal? There's the real question.
That would never happen.
That would never happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have an issue.
We have an issue with that because Matt Barzal will be an RFA after next season, and he would have arbitration.
That's
probably.
true, but that control is important, right? Whereas with Miller, they have none. They have no control. He can walk in UFA.
But you want
Barzal.
You will want the sun and the moon. That's true.
And we already have PD.
JT Miller will come in at a cheaper cap hit, technically, because Matt Barzal's qualifying offer is based on his final year salary, which is $10 million. So your qualifying offer has to be 25% or 10% or something more.
Yeah, you know what? On second thought, I pass. I will
so
say
he's going to be an $11 million player.
Boy.
No.
Yeah, you know what? I'm good. Now that I think about that, I'm okay. As much as
screwed.
Yeah, they've got no room here. Screwed. Literally, like you said, their best bet here is if you're Patrick Alvin and Jim Rutherford, you know what you do? You go to Lou Lamoriello and be like, hey, the Rangers really wanted JT Miller? How about you stick it to them? You trade for him, and that's an act. And you might think like I'm kind of kidding. No, that's an actual selling point for some teams, especially teams with like playing that have like that close like distance rival of where like the Rangers and the Islanders have, where it's like, oh, we always have to try and be better than them, and especially coming off of a year where the Rangers made the conference finals after you missed it because you had a really bad year. Yeah, like that's
they really made you look
switched
foolish.
Places.
Exactly. Like that's exactly the type of deal where you go to the Islanders and say, hey, listen, you don't want to be number 2 in the market. You've got to make sure you need you're going to need some star power. This JT Miller is going to bring you some star power, and that's how you get it done.
That would be very smart. Whether or not they do that remains to be seen, because it appears more like the Canucks are all about Sweden right now. They might not be into the Canadian boys or the United States boys. 2 signings in the last month from the SHL. What was the kid's name? Filip Johansson, which was a bit of a reach by the Minnesota Wild back in the 2018 draft, a draft that pretty much got Paul Fenton and that entire organization fired. Because it was like his brother-in-law or something that was the draft leader or whatever, their scouting director. Yeah. So I mean I don't mind the bet. The team needs a prospect pool. So like if the kid gives them another chance at having like an actual RD in the system, like great. Yeah. But it's like kind of just like funny looking at like how this draft of Filip Johansson resulted in not only like Minnesota just completely overhauling their approach, but eventually led to Judd Brackett being signed, so that drafts like this never happened for them again. That's pretty funny. I'm a big fan of that. And this comes after what, like 5 days, like not Soman from the SHL as well. So they're really going hard. They're like Patrick Alvin's relying on his contacts right now in Sweden to try and bolster the depth of this team that has been struggling for quite some time to have a decent prospect group.
Yeah. I think it was Cam Robinson who put it best when he said that Vancouver just needs to darts on the board. And this is what that is for them. Because like the Canucks are so depleted in that cupboard that they have so much space to try and bring in some younger guys who are just who still need some time in the AHL or still in Sweden. I don't know if he's going to stay. I guess he's not going to stay over there, but like unless they put him on loan. But they just need bodies to see who they can get to maybe turn into something, and that's what good teams do. Like the best teams are the ones that can find those like diamonds in the rough and aren't always looking at like, oh, what's the big name we can go get and the big fish we can chase here. They go look for the forgotten players, the players who just need that second chance to get it right and turn into something. And
this is very much the Pittsburgh Penguins model, right? You just find a bunch of guys, you find a bunch of darts, and hope one of them is suddenly you're in your top 6 getting 30 goals next to Elias Pettersson somehow.
I wonder why it's like this.
It's so confusing how it ended up like this, right?
Filip Johansson could be the next Chad Ruhwedel. Like that's fun.
But they're going with all Swedish people though. Like that's the difference, true. Right? They're just like banking on the people that they trust. Like they had they signed Linus Karlsson too. Like not necessarily like a free agent, but like a draft pick that was absolutely forgotten about by the organization.
Jonathan Dahlin trade. That was that trade.
that one's finally paying off.
Finally.
It'd be really funny is that I think Jonathan Dahlin's actually like a free agent right now, like an RFA.
Bring him back.
It would be really funny.
I don't think. Actually, that's a good question. Well, I don't know. I wonder if now that there's new management, who knows? Maybe he would. But like, if it had been the other, if the other regime was still here, and they're just like, John,
like
buddy,
if it's just like, hey, we're not going to send you to the AHL ever. You're going to be either a healthy scratch or in our top 6 playing with your best buddy Elias Pettersson. Because they had great chemistry. Like that was the whole selling point of getting them, is that like they carried not Veho, it was Timra or whatever to like a championship or whatever together. So it's like they could have that chemistry still, and it would be really funny if they tried it.
Yeah, they tried to bring him back. It's because I remember when I talked to him at the time, like I remember like this was obviously when he had been part of the Canucks organization up until literally the day before. But it was like he was literally like, yeah, we text every day. Like we talk all the time. He's still gonna be my friend, whether we're not playing in the same team anymore. I obviously like when you go through hockey like this, I wonder how like, that can change a little bit because obviously it's hard to stay in touch with friends, especially during a pandemic, during like the course of a hockey career. Like, yeah, everyone's crying.
It's making me so emotional.
It's so cute. It's so cute.
It's beautiful friendship.
It was very sweet. It was very nice. It was one of my favorite things he talked about. It would be really cool to see if they could maybe bring him back. I think the Sharks are gonna give him a lot of money though, just based on they need somebody there.
I don't think so. Okay, back to this is basically just the cap friendly episode where we both take turns looking at a different team's page and going like, have you seen this?
You know what, that's just going to be another show. I think like right at the end of the season before the draft. I think we just have to do let's look at cap friendly for everybody.
I'm gonna pitch this right now in front of the fans.
Very long.
Can we just call this episode "Have you seen this"? Have you seen this? Like twice. The San Jose Sharks only have like $5 million in cap space, and so speaking of terrible teams that don't have anything,
my bad.
They only got $5 million in cap space. They don't really have anyone to sign, so they could sign him to like a $2 million extension if they really wanted to. He had a terrible back half of the year. Like I think he got COVID or he got injured, and then he came back and he had like 1 goal over 45 games or something. Like he was like a point per game player to start the year, and then he got injured and just like was a shell of himself right after. So
that 11
maybe that'll lower his value a bit.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's just kind of funny looking at like a team that's like in the dumps, have no money.
That 11.5 million per year contract extension for Erik Karlsson sure did not work.
Now
like,
that was
I opened their cap friendly page and I looked at the forwards and I was like, okay, that's like not that bad. And then I looked at their D-men and I was like, oh.
So yeah, as somebody who watched that D-men that defensive group fall apart over the years, like they were old when I left the Bay Area. They were already old, and that was when Karlsson was still like there was still a lot of hope that Karlsson was gonna do things, and he was actually decent in that first year. Sharks fans were very hard on him though. It's the fact that they've got Brent Burns making $8 million to be like not the same scoring defenseman that he used to be, and also very bad defensively because he's slow.
When that contract's up,
he sure is, and Marc-Edouard Vlasic is even more
Vlasic deal is truly awful.
Vlasic, who was routinely healthy scratched at the end of last year. They're in a bit of a pickle.
There is a reason why what's his name from the San Jose Sharks was not brought back this year after he took his leave of absence. I think that was like a complete freebie for the ownership group to be like, we need to drastically change directions here. And just a side note, Pierre Dorion gets a lot of shit for his decision making. Selling on Erik Karlsson because his owner was too cheap may have been stupid, but turning him into Josh Norris, Tim Stützle, and possibly Zach Ostapchuk of the Vancouver Giants, pretty decent.
It's kind of
it is good.
It's stunning how well that trade actually worked out for Ottawa. Because I remember, everyone at the time, like even coming off of the injury stuff with Karlsson, people were like, "Oh, this is gonna age like milk for Ottawa," because like how little they got. And then it's like compared to how good he was at the time, right?
Well, they were also like, "Why are you selling?" Because this team was right on the cusp of breaking out. Like they still had Mark Stone. They had, I think they still had Savannah Jett at that time.
They had a ridiculous. Oh my god, that team was ridiculous in terms of like they had so many names. So they had Kyle Turris, Bobby Ryan, Dion Phaneuf, Alex Burrows, Craig
Zibanejad.
Anderson.
Oh my
No,
God.
Zibanejad was gone by this
Oh,
point.
was he? Okay.
He was gone. So he was gone for that was one of Pierre Dorian's first moves was trading Zibanejad for Derek Brassard, which didn't work.
So, yeah.
Oh,
He
that's
he
not
won the
gonna work.
Carlson deal, but every other deal was
trade.
like a real big like ew.
Oh
The
dear.
Mark Stone
Ew.
trade kind of did not too badly for them, but like
They did, but they kind of screwed up the assets that they got in return because it was like, who did they get? The defenseman kid. The one that the coach
Formanton?
doesn't
No.
like. No,
Or
it's the coach that they don't like.
Oh God, I can remember this name. It is no, it's not going to come to me.
It's like a Swedish kid, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is. DJ Smith is not a huge fan of this guy. If I'm
trying to look it up, but I can't see it.
Oh, Eric Brandstrom. That's
Eric Brandstrom. Thank you. I knew it was like something Swedish.
He didn't like him?
No, like he had
there was
there's
maybe
like
this was
rumors like last year, not this year.
yeah,
but
this might have
last
changed
year.
this year.
It might have changed, but like I mean, he still didn't really play, and I think he spent the rest of the year in Belleville in the AHL. So I don't think he really won the coach over. But last year it was like DJ Smith basically came out and was kind of like, I can't play this kid in my lineup. Like he doesn't work for what I'm trying to do here. Like he was like outright just like shitting on the kid for not being a good player.
He was routinely playing Eric Goodbranson over Brandstrom, and that was a big thing. Like, and there was like, and like looking at his stats line this year, Brandstrom played 53 games, had no goals, 14 assists, and played 9 games in Belleville, had a goal and 2 assists in the AHL. That's a
pretty decent defenseman at the AHL level.
He's not bad. Like he's not bad. Like like any other team would love to have a Brandstrom. It's just you wonder what they've done why they've had such a hard time developing defensemen since Carlson left. Oh, with the exception of guys like Artem Zub who have done wonders. Great name.
Elite name.
Tremendous name. His contract comes up at the end of next season. If that's somebody the Canucks should look at for the right defense. He's 26, Artem Zub.
That Mark Stone trade is fucking horrendous, actually.
Oh, is it really?
It's Mark Stone and some guy for Eric Brandstrom outright because he was drafted. A 2020 second, which they then used on some guy who's not good. And then another like just guy that came back. So it's like basically like nothing.
Mark Stone for some guys.
Basically nothing for like some guys.
It's
like a terrible contract or terrible deal, and that's also on the heels of they got rid of Matt Duchene for like a bit of a haul, but they still didn't get much from him either. And right before then was when they gave up a shit ton for Matt Duchene. It was just like just a bunch of really baffling moves. Like, what are you guys doing?
Matt Duchene deal to get him.
Baby.
I loved it.
The Matt Duchene trade, that was one, oh man, that deserves an episode all on its own for how ridiculous it is. Like,
so much
and
drama.
so much drama, and just like how that trade at the time looked like even knowing that like Ottawa was probably paying way too much for Matt Duchene to take him out of Colorado. Like it was one of those trades where you're like, oh, I can see this working out for all teams involved, especially since Colorado was really bad at the time. Or like you can see a scenario where it's like, this maybe could work out okay. Like it's not gonna but like it's so funny how badly it aged for not one but 2 teams out of the 3. Like Colorado's the only one that did well.
At that time, I knew immediately that both Nashville and Ottawa had completely fucked themselves because it was a horrible trade for both. Neither guy was getting anyone good. Like Turris was completely washed when Nashville acquired him. Like completely
Didn't they win the President's
washed.
Trophy though that year? Like wasn't that the year they won the President's Trophy? Like it was one of those like they were actually only a piece away. Like they're in their minds, like they were like there was at least some semblance of I see the logic here. It just did not execute properly.
Well, they got Turris in the middle of his contract year where he was going to become like a free agent. So they paid out the ass for him and immediately bought him out because he stopped trying. And he was garbage. And then the Matt Duchene thing was like, okay, he didn't want to be in Ottawa at all, clearly. And it didn't work out there either.
Because the tourist trade was also contingent on him signing an extension, right? Like that was the point. I forgot about that.
So it was just like it was a lose-lose immediately for both teams. Colorado just came away like, well, thanks for the first pair defensemen and all the prospect depth too.
Bowen Byram, Sam Girard, Shane Bowers. Jesus, you couldn't win a trade harder if you tried.
Go Joe!
Really couldn't. Like even if they don't win the cup, because like let's get back to the actual Stanley Cup talk here. Full circle. Yeah. If Joe Sakic didn't win the cup this year, like you could still legitimately make an argument that he deserves a statue in front of whatever fucking arena it's called just for that trade alone.
In front of like Ottawa's arena or something, or Nashville's, or
no, in front of whatever the Colorado arena is called.
Ball arena.
They probably already have one. To be fair, they probably already have one of him.
Well,
that's true. They probably do.
That'd be really funny though if they had like a second. They had a Joe Sakic
second one,
player
like him in
statue,
a suit.
and then one just him in a suit, just standing next to each other, like twinning or like doing like the back-to-back thing.
That'd actually be pretty cool.
That would be cool.
He'll have to sign one of the second line people in order to get that.
He will statue. To get an executive statue. He will have to maintain the core past this one cup final, which is going to be hard to do. Like obviously McKinnon's going to get paid. Like that's a no-brainer. Like,
but they have one more year on it.
They have one more year with McKinnon.
Yeah.
And McKinnon said that he'll take a discount.
Right. Yeah.
So we don't really have to worry about McKinnon.
They might try and sign him though early though, right? Because they can sign him officially. Like extension can be signed. I think up to a year. Like they might go, hey, look, we'll just here you go, have whatever you want. Here's for the rest of your life. Enjoy.
We have so many
like
people.
But looking at that group, like it's you've got Burakovsky, you've got Nichushkin, Nico Sturm, Nazem Kadri being the one that you look at as like, well, I don't think they can afford him even if they want, like no matter how much they wanted to. Like my
hot take is that instead of re-signing Nazem Kadri, they should use the money that would be dished out to him and split it between Lehkonen and Val Nichushkin. Because I think you do more with those two on new deals than you do with Nazem Kadri on some gaudy 8-year, $400
and then sign Burakovsky anyways for me.
Yeah, you just give him like $1 million to show up. You know, it's like, hey, wait, okay. The funny thing about Burakovsky,
he's hot and cold.
The funny thing about him is that he has the most Russian name on the planet, and he's Swedish.
Yeah,
that's right. There's a couple players like
that. But
same thing with Swedish. Sasha Barkov, who's Finnish.
He was Russian when I first saw his name.
Mm-hmm.
But he's just from really southern Sweden.
What do you think Swedish Russian fusion food is? What do you think that is?
Ooh, borscht, but like
borscht
made out of like a cow stomach or deer's stomach or something.
Yeah. That's gotta be an interesting little combination there. Because he's Swedish and Austrian. That's he's born in Austria. That makes sense as to where the Slavic name comes from. Like that makes sense in that regard, right? Like, but yeah, like Burakovsky would be like somebody. I mean, hey, keep him. He's only 27. Like, he's not going to command much on the open market, is he? Like, he hasn't.
Well, he did have a career high this year during the season, so there's that. But he's not Burakovsky, playoff Burakovsky.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that as well.
I guess my real question here is looking at the group that they have left. Like, okay, so going into the finals, obviously, like they're a team that is like more or less is, I would say, from top to bottom, like forwards and defense are just as good as Tampa. Like maybe a little bit behind just based on they don't have the experience of say Tampa as Tampa's players do. They don't have maybe the same amount of like heavy bodies that Tampa sure does. But as far as like pure talent is concerned, they can match them no problem. The big thing is in goal where you've got one of Darcy Kemper, if he's healthy, or Pavel Francouz playing against the best goaltender in the world right now, which is Andrei Vasilevsky. Like that is the big mismatch here, is how well can Kemper or Francouz do against that lethal Tampa Bay team? Like, is this going to be a case where it looks like it's going to be this heavy grudge match, but the goaltending just tilts it so quickly into Tampa's favor that it ends up being like a sweep, like right out of the gate?
I am worried about the Colorado's defense.
A little. They are definitely getting a little. They're definitely like a little bit injured.
Great.
I think Colorado skates by because when their top line is going, it makes you kind of think their entire team is just like some complete juggernaut, especially with Nazem Kadri out of the lineup. They're like, suddenly their depth or their forward like prowess doesn't seem as strong, because you look on paper and you're like, oh, like without Kadri, I guess it's, Comfer and Newhook, I guess, if he's in the lineup, or Lehkonen,
Darren Helm.
Right now, are you just doing
like their second line or whatever?
Second line
without Kadri is
without Kadri. They move Rantanen to 2C with Nichushkin on the top line.
Yep.
And then I think
he's centering Burakovsky and Lehkonen.
Yeah.
So they're rolling with like a lot of good players that are in plug and play kind of roles right now, but you don't have like your Kadri, which you can't really do anything about. But when you look at Tampa's, it's kind of like they play down to 11 forwards every single night with 7D, so that they can give their D as many reps as possible and as many minutes as possible, which is a lot better when you're playing against a team that doesn't really have the forward depth that Tampa has, because Tampa's third line at times can be Anthony Cirelli playing 14 minutes a night, and all 14 of those minutes could be against the best that Colorado has to offer. And there was some crazy stat that through 300 or 400 minutes at 5v5 through these playoffs, Cirelli's been on ice for only 2 goals against. And that was while exclusively being matched up against the Matthews line in the Toronto series, and then in the Avalanche series being against Barkov and whatever the fuck his name is. Yeah, which is insane to think about, because he's also like, 24, whatever he is. So he's shutting down these lines like it's nobody's business. So like, if, like you're saying, if Colorado comes into the first game and like Francouz isn't like A+ shape, and Anthony Cirelli and Alex Killorn and Corey Perry get thrown out there and can shut down Rantanen and Nichushkin, or McKinnon and Landeskog, or Makar whenever he's on the ice, like, this is going to be a quick series, even though it is literally the 2 best teams on paper matching up against each other. But the big issue for Tampa was like, they're not going to have the speed to match up against Toronto. And they matched it. They found a way to shut them down perfectly. Florida, they had better speed. Didn't matter. Tampa shut them down, even though they're much older in their bottom 6 than any of these teams in the playoffs. So is Cale Makar going to be the game breaker who can, outscore their problems? I don't know. I'm not really sold they can do it.
Adam Fox couldn't do it, like, for the Rangers. So it's like, and
he had a terrible series.
They shut him down.
He had
no one's business, and I'm pretty sure they kept hitting him so that he couldn't do anything.
Oh yeah.
So what if they do that to Cale Makar, right? Which would suck. Let's be clear here. If Cale Makar gets shut down, that sucks. Devontae's is very good too, but like,
you have Devontae's to counteract some of that.
That's the one thing. It's
Fox,
not like
it was Lindgren.
It was Lindgren.
It was him. That was it. It was just
banged up. He was banged up. So like it's different, right?
It's definitely different. And like Bowen Byram has looked really good during his playoff run.
He's pretty good
too,
but like it's also his first like real playoff run. So you're like, hey Bowen, here you go. You're facing off against Steven Stamkos and Nikita Kucherov in our first playoff or Stanley Cup final. Good luck. Like,
have
fun. A lot of pressure on the kid.
It is. It's a lot of pressure, but like, you see great players, especially like step up to face that pressure all the time. And that's, I mean, hell, for a lot of these teams, a lot of these players on the Avalanche, like this is their first real legitimate long cup run. Like what, like before this, I think McKinnon had only gotten to like round 2 before. So it was like, and that was only like once or twice. Like,
I think they've been bounced out of the second round, I think 3 times, haven't they?
Yeah.
Yes,
like
3 straight, right?
It was
That's right.
Sharks, then Dallas.
And then Vegas the year before, I think,
And then Vegas, exactly. So, like, they've never, like, a lot of these guys are coming in on their first legitimate long-term playoff run. So, I don't see a reason why you couldn't why with the Avs, like, defense, like, especially the youthful aspect to their defense right now, even without Sam Girard, why they couldn't, like, it'll be a lot harder at the very least, like you mentioned, for the Lightning to go, okay, this is the guy, point at like one of the, like in this case, Cale Makar, and go, okay, this is the guy. If you shut him down, the whole blue line is broken. Like you can't, there's nothing they can do. Like it's going to be a lot harder for them to do that here, but it's not entirely out of the realm of possibility. That's how it goes because of just how, again, like how strong Tampa is at being able to shut down and just completely neuter great players. Like when they're like, even no matter how well they're playing beforehand, suddenly they come in suddenly they just can't move a puck out to save their life and they look completely human. So yeah.
So what are we thinking here? Lachlan, your pick for the series.
I'm okay. Yeah, I would like to see Colorado win, obviously. Like I'd love to see the Avs win because they're such a fun team to watch play. But right now, based on the mismatch in net, and the fact that, again, Tampa's done all this, we haven't even really talked about the fact they've done all of this without Braden Point, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And he might come back. He took warm-ups, I think, in the last game against New York, unless I'm mistaken.
No, I don't think so. He didn't play at all.
He was supposed to, like something like that.
He was spotted at a practice, I think, but there was no, like, he never took line rushes. He wasn't ever there for warm-up. It was just kind of like he was at a skate. That's about it.
Yeah.
That's all we got.
Yeah. Based on all of the information we have in front of us about these two teams, as much as I think I would like to see Colorado win, and it'd be fun if they did, I think right now I'm leaning Tampa's going to win that 3rd cup in a row. They're going to win in 6.
Yeah, you know what this speaks to me? This is kind of like the Oilers when they faced off against the Islanders in like 83 or whatever it was, and the Islanders just beat them. And the quotes after the game were like, yeah, Wayne Gretzky and the Oilers are a really great team, but they're not there yet, and that's why we beat them. And then the next year is when they actually, like, Oilers got over the hump and finally beat them. I don't think Tampa's likely to be there 4 years in a row. Like that's almost more impressive than if they actually won 3 cups in a row.
Oh, if they did that, they might be the greatest like sports dynasty of the 2000s. Like
even getting
in any sport.
Even possibly. Getting there 3 years or 3 seasons in a row. We shouldn't say years because those two are kind of short together. But getting there 3 seasons in a row is definitely like this is probably one of the best teams in the post lockout post lockout cap era. I'm sure arguments would be made like, Chicago did it in 3 years, but fuck that organization. So.
Yeah, and they took like 7 years to get it done. Like not even close.
Yeah. Maybe the Penguins because they did it 3 years over like a 9-year gap or whatever. But anyways, we go to our resident Avs fan and Corey Perry shipper.
Shipper?
I know
make any sense.
So close.
Supporter.
Okay.
Supporter
I guess you're not trying to ship him with anybody.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay. There you go.
Yeah.
Who are you picking? And you have to pick.
You're
contractually obliged to pick.
I am so scared.
Just do the wuss thing and be like, well, if X thing happens, I hope they win. If X thing happens, I hope they win.
Yeah.
I want the Avs to win. Like, obviously.
Just don't pick number of games because then you will for sure jinx them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of like the CreaseCast specials being like, oh, this is going to be a sweep.
The Tampa Bay Lightning will never lose a game again.
Yeah.
There we go. I've said it.
God.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But
okay.
all we know is it doesn't really matter. Like the result is going to probably be like really good for hockey in general. Tampa three-peats, awesome, great. Corey Perry finally wins his cup
number 2
against, or not against, but with the Tampa Bay Lightning in the final. If the Avs win, it's a testament to the perseverance of Joe Sakic in basically taking a team that was legitimately one of the worst, most embarrassing rosters in maybe NHL history with that 2016-17 team and
wild.
turning it into a contender in 6 years. Like, that's fucking wild. And some of the moves he made, like I said, put a statue for the guy if they actually win a cup off of it, because thoroughly impressive. It's not a goaltending duel. It's going to be just like a battle between two teams who are elite at 5v5. So I'm excited for it. Really sucks we got to wait till Wednesday, though. That
gives me time
to mentally prepare for the like the devastation of either team
I'm
losing.
literally going to prepare myself for the worst.
Maybe like if Colorado wins, but it's because Corey Perry scores twice, you'd be like, yay, but you're crying because you're still upset.
No, I don't think I'd be very happy if Corey Perry scores.
He betrayed you.
Yeah,
exactly.
And it's also like he already won a cup. Like he's already got one. Like
that's so long ago.
That was like when he was like a kid, like his first year in the league.
Dude,
I have never. Oh,
I was 6 years old when he won that cup.
Yeah, you know what? And I was how old was I? I was 10, and I was so mad because Rob Niedermeyer like decked Rory Fitzpatrick in the head, like in their series against the Canucks, and they totally won that game. Nobody remembers those names except me. Like, I'm still mad about it. Like,
he holds a grudge.
He's got his one. He's got his one. No, get out of here.
Okay. Do we want to talk? There's some other extracurricular NHL stuff that we kind of need to address here. Yes. Obviously,
it's amazing
the big one. I know I thought it would be brought up first, but then we were on a heater with like the Tampa Cap thing, so we kind of got a little distracted. But
Cap friendly really gets you going.
It's a wormhole.
It is so bizarre that this story hit on a Sunday night.
Yeah,
I was in bed at
on
like 9
the
o'clock.
Lord's Day.
Yeah, on Jesus's birthday, they chose to, whoever it was,
Jackie Bean. Jackie Bean.
And God said, let there be tea.
Let there be tea. And what a tea it was, because Connor McDavid, for those that don't know or care, like people like me, because I don't care for Connor McDavid, he is not a married man, but he is in a relationship with a woman who's relatively interesting in her own right. She is an interior designer who famously designed her and Connor McDavid's home. It's a beautiful slate granite home with a heated driveway, so Connor doesn't have to hurt himself shoveling snow.
Oh my god!
And it kind of looks like a Superman villain's lair. Like, it's very like
I love
evil looking. There's no like
so
color
modern.
anywhere. But
it looks like the war room in Doctor Strangelove, like, and like absolutely.
Yeah, like it's intentionally black and white. It's just very bizarre. But anyway, I can't remember her name. I think it's like Lauren Kyle.
Lauren Kyle.
Lauren Kyle.
Okay. The broadcast taught me that. So Lauren Kyle, God bless her. I guess wasn't doing it for Mr. McDavid, because Mr. McDavid.
No. Oh, don't say that.
Went to He went to Dallas with some other Oilers players, including Duncan Keith, Zach Cashin, and Darnell Nurse, and they were all spotted leaving a club together. And on Mr. McDavid's hand appeared to be a brunette woman in a very low-cut top. It's a very nice top, in a
Pepto-Bismol colored dress.
It's very in, as they say. Probably Aritzia, tough to say. Maybe Zara. I don't know.
It's the States, so maybe not, because I don't think there's big on Aritzia there.
But Zara,
they're huge on Aritzia.
But
really?
Everything's online.
Okay.
They love it. They love it. They love
could
to
be Zara.
spend
Could
money.
be. You know what?
I thought that was a Vancouver thing. Like, that was a very Vancouver
No,
thing.
it's just from Vancouver.
Yeah, and
Fair
knowing
enough.
these women, it's probably fashionnova.com, from fashionnova.com, #fashionnova on Instagram, possibly.
How do you know this?
I'm on Instagram quite a bit, and my wife shops concerningly a lot. And in spite of his relationship with Lauren Kyle, Connor McDavid was spot little tipsy, little Johnny Depp in Pirates of the Caribbean swagger on his way out of the club. A little bit of a
So
lean too,
slow.
a little
So
slow.
For
He's
a
probably the
fast
slowest
guy,
he's
he
ever
looks
moved.
slow.
For,
Yeah.
He looks so slow.
for a gazelle, he looked like he had been shot in the leg. And so as they're leaving, this one person, I actually didn't listen to the audio, but I think he's like narrating on like this guy looks like famous or something like that. I can't remember. But he
No.
spots
He said
McDavid.
that Cassian looked like his bodyguard.
Oh, that's mean. Cashin's. I mean, he does because
He
he's got
is on
the-
the ice. Yeah.
he's got,
that
like,
is
He's
what
a
the-
bald man, so
he's a bald man
obviously.
with like, and he's got like the no pupils thing, so he looks like a maniac at all times, just because he doesn't have any color to his eyes. So anyway, busted in 4K. Hashtag busted. Being with a woman that isn't Lauren Kyle, holding hands, leaving a club. Bit of a. I'm sure. It's funny because the video shows like McDavid looking back at the cameraman, like straight into the barrel, and he kind of has like he mouths like "oh shit," kind of like he doesn't. I don't think it says "oh shit," but it's definitely like a realization, like I'm caught, and I'm sure we're not going to imply that anything happened between these two. I'm sure she's a lovely lady, and I'm sure Connor McDavid would not ever incriminate himself like this in such a public fashion. But conveniently, the video ends right there. So maybe he said something to the guy like, hey, I'm in a loving relationship with a person who designs super hit villain layers, and I don't want this information out there. But this fellow put it on the internet for all to see on a Sunday night. Apparently, like,
Cody.
I don't know if this happened at the exact same time, but maybe like a couple hours before or after Sammy Blais got put on blast for
Okay, I want to say something first before you carry on. There's multiple videos, right?
Oh, what? I saw one.
Oh, well, luckily
that's why I was like, why are you going this far with this narrative, man? There's like 3 videos.
No.
Well, lucky for you, I have downloaded all of them, so we can watch them we can look at them right now on the screen.
Okay, so if you
are, oh my god,
you know what? I'll cut right here just for a second so I can pull them up because I did download them.
No, I'm gonna keep talking. We're not gonna cut.
Okay, go ahead. Keep
we're
talking.
Running a good, efficient show.
Okay.
I'm shocked because I know the person that originally posted the video on Twitter, like it disappeared like 15 minutes after, like the account got like wiped from the earth.
It did, and then it came back. A new account, same name, new handle.
Interesting. I wonder what Connor McDavid paid him to not say or put this out there.
Probably nothing because they did it again. So.
Clearly not enough. Not enough is the answer.
Come on, the man makes what, $12.5 million?
You can't just come on, Connor. You can't just pay to buy this guy a new phone to give him yours, to have him give up the original. Like just give him the money for a new iPhone 13. Like, come on.
So if you guys want to check out our YouTube channel, Lachlan will be pulling up that video real quick here, because I've only seen the one video. So if there's multiple, like that's fucking amazing.
So yes, so we've got.
Oh my god, there is multiple videos. There's multiple angles. It's the Zapruder film here.
There's 3 angles,
bro. Presented.
Oh, they were really following him, eh?
Yeah, I
that's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
it is a little, and it's in Texas too. I almost feel a little bad showing these at all, but
no way. Okay, this is the video that most people have probably seen on the internet.
This is the one. This is
the one that I was referring to, where he looks back and he looks like you might as well throw like the GTA wasted symbol over his head because he's so busterino.
Oh, he literally says, "Hey, Connor."
Yeah. Because he's probably in Texas to get fucked up and pick up chicks because it's like nobody knows what hockey players look like. Why does he stand so weird?
Why does he
look at him? He's like got that stoop.
Yeah.
You're right. It's the back hurt.
I mean,
you go for the booty. Hell yeah. You go, girl.
It's a that
rules. Good for her.
Yeah, honestly, good for her.
Good for
Good
her.
Yeah, and
for
you know what?
her.
Good for Lauren Kyle if she does stick by him, because like, yeah, get yours, make him pay you. What what did Kobe Bryant get his
Dude.
wife after getting caught cheated? Like, got her like a $6 million engagement ring. Like, get
Nice.
yours, Lauren Kyle. You go
Yeah.
for it.
She's
Even though
literally with the dogs.
She's literally back up.
Back
It's
in
one of the-
Edmonton
and
with Lenny
And
That
and
is
like
a big
going
deal.
out for drinks with her girls.
And
Ooh.
I can confirm from looking. Apparently, she has since disabled comments on her. Lauren has disabled comments on her last Instagram post because a lot of people were commenting and going, "Hey,
so
where's Connor right now?" And yeah, it's one of those like. It's one of those like we don't know much. We don't know. We only see as much as the video shows us, and it's
so we're
like
not
one
going to
of those-
imply that they did anything consensual or non-consensual. We don't know what
and
they did.
and whatever is consensual between two adults is important. Like that's the most important thing at the end of the day.
And we don't know what their like McDavid and Lauren Kyle's relationship situation is like either. Maybe they have an open relationship. Who knows?
Yeah, we don't know. Yeah, we don't know anything about that, and they will never tell us because they have their own.
It's
Because
none of our
they're not.
business.
It's none of our business. None of our business.
And
But
we aren't going to opine at all. But we are going to opine about Sammy Blais and his very bizarre sexual.
This one is
interest in his
somehow
sister.
even worse. Somehow,
This is-
like, okay, we're gonna be very quick on this one because I don't even want to talk about this.
I think we
one.
should go long on this one. So,
Oh no.
Cody, you know what? You can talk about this. Locke and I will leave.
Yeah.
Yeah,
just
how do
gloss it over. It's one of those like.
How do I pull up the video or the pictures of Sammy Blais' sister on this chat?
Oh,
Pull 'em up, Lachlan.
Let's not do
No,
that.
Actually,
let's not do that.
We're not
Okay,
gonna do that one.
The weird thing about this whole thing was like someone joked like was at least Sammy Blais right and she is sexy, and someone's like, these are her high school grad pictures, and everyone was like, oh no.
Yeah,
So for those that don't know what we're talking about,
my
God.
New York Rangers forward or defenseman. What is he?
Player. He's a player.
He's a player. He's an ice hockey player. He's a skater for the New York Rangers. He was acquired before the trade deadline. I don't even think he played like a single game for them in the playoffs because he was injured. But for whatever reason, Hockey Tumblr decided to head over to Twitter when stuff was, I think Tumblr servers were down or whatever. And they dug up his old Instagram. I guess they were searching his sisters.
I think some people were trying to defer the attention on McDavid.
Oh, okay.
I'm not.
They're like, hey, it could be worse.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Oh,
two stories. They just existed at the same
Not
time.
going to confirm, but it's very uncanny that they happened at the same time.
Two very bizarre stories at the exact same moment is very like you almost want to bet like Lauren Kyle was actually saw like Connor McDavid was two-timing her, and she's like, well, I can't
Cody, shut up.
be made to look
Cody,
foolish,
stop!
so I must
Stop.
release the Blaze cut.
Stop!
So anyway,
Cody, no.
Cody,
yeah,
down,
someone dropped a
stop.
bunch of pictures of Sammy Blais' sister at her grad, and
Saying something
very weirdly, Sammy Blais is commenting "sexy" or "sexy, babe" with a heart emoji.
What I can only hope is just like Instagram having really bad French translation filters and it being something a lot less like weird. Like
it's just like beautiful, but like
it's like
because Instagram does have that feature where you can translate the page and you say see translation and it'll do it for you.
Yeah.
So
it's only for the caption though.
But it's only for the caption and the top two comments that show up. And some of these comments are from clearly in thread of the photo. So it's like
it's strange. It's weird.
It's just a very weird thing. I've seen some people trying to defend it, being like, "This is a very Montrealer thing to do. It's just like a turn of phrase," and I'm like, "If I ever, like I don't think anyone in their right mind, regardless of language barrier, should ever be like, "Hey sis, you're looking sexy." Like, ew.
Oh, Cody, why? I hope you know that you've now put that on the internet. That's now a soundbite, Cody. Congrats, buddy.
I didn't say these things. Sammy Blais did to his sister.
Just did on the show, though.
But if you clip this,
People could just
No
clip
one's
that.
gonna know.
Oh yeah, out of context, it'll be the
Out
it'll
of
be the,
context, you're gonna get canceled for this now.
it'll be
Oh
the-
my
what's
god, Cody.
the Simpsons show or whatever, where it's like Mr. Simpson, no,
Yeah, that.
conversation may not have happened.
Yeah,
That's this.
exactly. So, Mr. Simpson, you admit you grabbed her can,
Very
and then it's just like,
sweet,
it's like
can.
clip it. It's like, yeah, it's just
Oh my
cutting.
goodness.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
But anyways, there's not much to say about it. It's just like a very weird story dropping at the exact same time as another very weird hockey story on a Sunday night. It's just like very bizarre timing and just so goddamn funny.
Yeah,
That's the big takeaway. So we're clear. We don't have any opinions on this other than it's just weird and very, very funny. There's nothing else to take away
There's
so
much going on.
It's
on
like how
on
it's just
Twitter.
all weird.
So much.
My two takeaways from this were, this again, this is like, how everyone remembers when Taylor Hall got traded for Adam Larson and Steven Stamkos signed and PK Subban got traded for Shea Weber. This was that for this year. And then also apparently just if your team gets eliminated in the conference finals and beyond, you're just subject to getting something coming up. So the Avalanche and Lightning, I guess, are playing for more than just a cup here. They're playing to not have something bad come out about them after. So that's going to be interesting.
Big tweet from Franco Aquilini as we're about to sign off here. Congrats to my friend Frank Justra, honored recently at the Core Gala in LA for his humanitarian work. He makes a huge difference in the world. And it's a picture of his buddy with Bill Clinton and Sean Penn.
Huh?
So he's not even in it.
No, he's not even in it. It's his buddy, but his buddy's in a picture with Bill Clinton, and that's just like really funny to me.
Yeah, like is Frankie not like big enough to be able to go be like, hey, can I get a selfie with you guys? Like,
am I invited? And Sean Penn is using his suit jacket pocket, which like the decorative like blazer front pockets that no one ever uses. He's got like a balloon stuffed in it, which is fucking weird. Like no one ever uses those pockets. They're literally for show.
Yeah,
what a weirdo.
That's so weird. Okay, I do have a few things before we get going here. I did want to talk to you guys about before we go. So Sabres are retiring Ryan Miller's jersey, which is cool. That's exciting. That's exciting. I love Ryan Miller. How dare you? Ryan Miller is amazing. Like one of my favorite Canucks. One of my favorite Canucks.
He defended Troy Stetcher.
I was gonna say he's famous for being the best Canucks goaltender of all time, and no one else is even close. Literally no one else.
Humor him. Yes, Cody. Yes, Cody. Sure.
He can't. He's like dying on the inside. He's gonna text me after like, I don't like what you said.
Yeah, I'm gonna fire him.
Cut it out.
I'm gonna we'll do the editing thing where it's just like you'll say Ryan Miller and then I'll just cut in with my own audio going Luongo.
It'll be like Ryan Miller is known for it, and you'll be your voice going. Yeah. Was clearly second best to Roberto Luongo in history.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think that's really cool that they're retiring his jersey. That's gonna be awesome. Jaromir Jagr had his big streak ended, which I didn't know existed. Apparently, he's had 41 years worth of teammates in the final. Like every year, one of his teammates has made the final. Fun fact: Do you know which current Canuck is a former teammate of Jaromir Jagr that won the cup? There is one. There is one of them.
Only one Canuck?
One current Canuck. I'm not talking. There are more Canucks, I'm pretty sure, like that have played with Jaromir Jagr and won a cup or played in a final at least.
Correct.
But there is one player who is currently on the Canucks that is on that that is part of that list and that history.
Damn. Shit, because they're like all like so young. That's like hard to say. Like you'd have to pick someone old, like Tanner Pearson.
Yeah,
it's Tanner Pearson.
No, it's not Tanner Pearson. But he never because
Luke Shen. There's
no. So
I'm trying to think if he was ever in Arizona.
I
don't think he was there.
Who's won a cup?
Yeah,
who's been on the
there's
Arizona
a current
Coyotes
who has won a cup.
Current Canuck.
Yeah.
None.
There or at least there was during this season. There was somebody on the team. who played.
Who was the Stanley Cup champion?
The answer is Alex Chason.
He was a captain.
What?
Yeah, Alex Chason played
has a
with
cup.
Jaromir Jagr. Won the cup with the Capitals, and I don't remember exactly what team he played on with Jagr. It was probably, looking at the list, Dallas back in his first couple of years in 2012, 2013, and 2013.
Oh, hell yeah.
So Alex Chason played with Jaromir Jagr and during his rookie year, and then won a cup.
Well, good for him.
Might have also played with him in Calgary, possibly. I don't know if that line.
That's what I was thinking too. Like, because he played like 2016 or 2017 in Calgary, I think, and so did Jason, I think.
Yeah,
So,
there was something weird with like
they were teammates multiple times.
Well, that's just
Jason won the cup with the Caps.
Maybe the Canucks need to sign Jaromir Jagr, and that'll solve everything.
He's not leaving. He's not leaving there.
He might. If you give him $6 million,
why not?
JT Miller money.
Oh my god!
I mean, hey, I would love to see Jagr in a Canucks jersey just for like the novelty of it. Like, it's
and the traveling Jagrs to come by.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. The traveling Jagrs. I'd love to see that. And all right. So I had one question. Since we didn't get any listener questions this week, I did want to ask you guys one. I did want to ask you guys one question that's just I thought about earlier this week that I thought would be interesting to pose to you guys. So somebody was this came from somebody doing the dumb Toronto thing where they're like, oh, if the NHL had just done 1 through 8, the Leafs would have been in the conference finals and not Tampa, or the conference finals would have been Toronto, Tampa, or something like that, some crap like that. And which is of course baloney. No matter how you slice it, because I think somebody even pointed out, it would have been Toronto, Boston. So we know how that plays out.
We know how that would have ended up.
Yeah. But people were going back to debating the whole 1 through 8 versus divisional thing. I'm not going to ask you guys to pick between those because I think there's kind of like differences. But what I did want to ask both of you is, if you could make a change to the current playoff format, like there was one thing you would change about the current playoff format, what would you change? Or even you can just overhaul it if you want to. Like, if you have an overhaul idea, you can go for it. Because like for me, I've often thought about, like, I forget who suggested this first, but somebody suggested the idea of, just for pure chaos, what if the top 3 teams in the conference got to pick from the bottom 4 what opponent they played in round 1? Like, what if like for the team that won the President's Trophy, or like the first place team in the Western Conference, gets to decide between 5 through 8 which of those teams they want to face first? Because it might not be 8. Because I was thinking about, like, imagine if like the Canucks in 2012, when they were the President's Trophy winners, could have been like, oh, we don't want to play the Kings, who are clearly not an actual 8 seed. We're gonna play the old ass Red Wings instead. Like, they could have picked somebody else.
I like that idea, but I think the stipulation would be, to be able to choose your opponent, you have to give up your first round pick to them.
Oh, interesting.
Like, you got to pay.
But what if you lose?
Doesn't matter.
Like that, it doesn't. So
you lost.
So interesting.
It's like you're gambling.
So you could
like you're gambling your picks on it. Yeah.
Are you not gambling though on the idea, like, because I feel like the gambling aspect within itself is the idea. Let's say you lose as like the first seed that picks someone other than 8th. Is that summer of questions of why did you pick 6 instead of 8? Why didn't you, like, because like that in itself could be like a fireable.
This is your stupid idea, and I'm trying to piggyback off of it with an even stupider idea. So don't ask me questions about my.
You're right. Pure chaos. You know what? I apologize.
It just happens, and that's all that matters.
That you're right. They should be gambling on it, or like they just bet picks on who. Like it's like a full scale like auction where they're just like, I'll take 2 picks to play.
Okay. No, here's what it is. Before you enter your matchup, there's no like, it's just seeding 1 to 8, right?
Yeah.
But before, you can actually throw down a bet against the team as the GM and say, I bet $780,000 of cap space that we beat you. And if you win, you get that added to your cap salary upper limit. And if you lose, you lose it.
That would be
and any team in a playoff series is able to do it. So Tampa, if they were like, we're going to bet $3.5 million to beat the Toronto Maple Leafs and they win, then all of a sudden next year's cap situation is a lot easier. That would make it the most spicy shit every single playoff.
Some
Arizona's-
teams would have like no cap space.
Some teams would just
But
go out
most-
of business. Like the
most-
Coyotes would be like, well, we can't afford to pay you $3 million.
But most team, no, like not the losing team. Like,
Oh,
it would be
there's
like-
no.
It's
There's
not like
no
a
loss
give
for
and
them.
take. It's like, so like Tampa could bet $3.5 million to do it, and if they win, they get that added to their upper limit. If they lose $3.5 million.
Okay.
And their opponent, Toronto, would also be like, we're going to bet, we're on the safer side. We're going to bet $716,000, enough for one ELC. And if we lose, then, oh, well, it's a one ELC. We can make do. But most teams will probably be like,
$1.
it'd just be like most teams would be like, we choose not to bet any cap space. But then you get the crazy teams that are always looking to maximize their value that would do stuff like crazy shit like that.
That would be so insane because of because you're not even like technically gambling on the current year. You'd be gambling on the future and what you can do next time. So like, even like if you win the cup, like even if you've made all those bets, suddenly you're like, oh, now we can do whatever the hell we want. And we've already won one.
Exactly.
Whereas like, it's like an all-in move. It's like an all-in push, but you're pushing all in for the year after, which would be so interesting. Like Florida, like going, we want 10 million next year, losing it and being like, shit, like we're done.
Yeah, and the further you go on in the playoffs too, like you might like after the first round, if you won 3.5 to your upper limit, the next round you might be like, hey, I don't really like our chances because of the injuries we got. We're not going to bet anything, so we're just going to leave playoffs with a higher upper limit, so we can retool and reset next year.
Oh, that sounds fun.
I mean, we spent all last episode talking about how much
complicated.
It does. It would be like a 9,000 page booklet in the CBA. It would be like complete chaos, but it would, like, as much as we talked about how much we hate the sports betting angle, that's like just all throughout the broadcast last episode. If it's teams betting their cap space and you see like a Chicago go like, we're betting $4 million because we need it to re-sign DeBrincat or whatever, and then they get swept in the first round, that is the spice you love to see, and it would incentivize teams like buying out players, doing off-beats, but like buying out players, like angling for compliance buyouts in the next CBA negotiations. Like it would just like anything that gets teams thinking and doing stuff that's like outside of the box, I'm all for. So this idea, which I've thought of on the spot in the last 10 seconds, I'm telling you, it's a winner.
That is a winner. Like it's almost like the Michael Jordan bet in Space Jam where he's like, if you guys win, you get me. Like, what if like the Oilers are just like, okay, you get Connor McDavid if we lose. Like they're just like, here you go, we'll bet him. We're going all in to win this time. And if you don't, you have to give us like one of your best players or something like that. Like it's just an all in ridiculous chaos round.
So like players are just action figures.
I mean, they kind of unfortunately are treated that way as is. Like they're not. They're not exactly. They're not. There's been a lot.
It's even worse though, because then like every year you're scared.
Like what if you? Okay, like it would have to be one of those things where like the player has to be okay with it. Like the player has to be able to sign off on that.
They'll just say no.
Yeah, they would just say no. But like, I mean, in theory, that's kind of what they'd already be doing if they were like, well, we're going to bet $10 million. Who's going to go when you bet $10 million and you have no other choices to get rid of, right?
And if you're the GM too, like, and you lose, they just fire you and you're like, well, good luck. Not my problem.
I did what I thought was
getting fired left and right, just like
like it would incentivize like organizations to get rid of like shitty GMs who just make bad bets all the time on players, but literally bad bets on their cap. Like I don't know, that would just be really rad.
Jim Benning would have bet like
Jim Benning
20
the other league
million.
so fast.
He would have bet 20 million on the Flames like Canucks series in 2015 immediately, and then just been like. Yeah, anything could happen. Oh man. Jamie, is there one you would change?
No.
There's no change. No, you think
he's
it's perfect
as is?
I mean, like nothing's ever perfect, you know.
Yeah.
And then like you could see it with the wild card spots in the West. It was like brutal.
It was brutal. The one, if I were to make a more realistic change, the one thing I would love to see is like them not go back to even like 1 through 8. What if it was like almost like a situation where, okay, top 8 in each conference, but then it's just the playoffs are not seeded by conference. You just kind of go, okay, 1 plays 16, 2 plays 15, and go from there.
That'd be pretty rad. I'd be down with that.
Everywhere.
Because I do like
everywhere.
because I do love the idea of like, oh, like what if you could have a cup final between, say, like Montreal, Toronto, or Vancouver, Calgary,
like Montreal, Tampa, like that's like a combo we've never seen before.
Yeah,
that was
cool for like until they started playing. It was cool until you realize, oh, this is a massive
that one game in Montreal was.
Yeah, that one game where they won, and you're like,
oh, in overtime, you're like, oh my god, they didn't get swept.
Great job,
it's
little
not a
buddy.
Complete embarrassment.
No. Attaway champ, you did it.
There was no way they were gonna win.
Oh god, no.
Well, speaking of embarrassment, this has been another episode of the CreaseCast, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Speak for yourself.
As always, you check out our
most.
No, come on. Check us out on our Patreon at patreon.com/CreaseCast. $1, $5 tiers. Anything you throw our way is very much appreciated. It helps pay for editing. It helps pay for me. It helps pay for White Claws. We appreciate all that. Don't forget to check out our YouTube channel as well, where you can watch videos such as Connor McDavid cheating on his main piece with a side piece.
Allegedly,
asterisk allegedly.
We're gonna get sued.
Yeah, I'm sure Lauren Kyle's checking out this podcast.
Look,
to see
Connor
all the slander.
McDavid is already mad at me because he can't be the most famous player to wear 97. Like he's already has a beef to pick with me.
Yes.
So like
that's totally the issue.
Yeah, Connor McDavid definitely knows who you are.
He's keeping tabs on you.
Everybody knows this. There's me. Then there's about 50 feet, and then there's Connor McDavid and Kirill Kaprizov just right behind him, and then Nikita Gusev. Like,
if I remember, Ken Holland was like, "There's a kid from Petaluma, California. He's currently wearing a Monsters University hat on Monday night at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. He's the motivating factor for Connor McDavid's season.
I'm the chip on his shoulder.
Yeah,
I am the chip."
Anyways, folks, I'm Cody Sievertson. You can catch me on Twitter at Cody Sievertson and my work at CanucksArmy.com, where I'll probably write something eventually. I think I'm supposed to. Lachlan, where can they find your work?
You can find my work at CanucksArmy.com also, and you can find me on Twitter at Lock in the Crease. I tweet sometimes. I don't tweet all the time, but it's good when I do.
Some's okay. Some's just all right.
Some's okay.
And Jamie, tell the folks where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter at _Jamie K. Lowe or on Instagram at Jamie K. Lowe Eats.
Check it out. Makes me hungry every time because they got some goddamn good food on that Instagram account. Anyways, folks, we'll catch you on the next episode when we'll probably be talking about the sweep of insert your favorite team here. All right, folks. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.